Take a breath and consider this. Fear is not just an emotion. In trading, fear is a mechanism, and it works against you in a very specific way. When you are afraid of something, your mind doesn't protect you from it. It narrows your focus onto it. And in doing so, it causes you to create the very experience you were trying to avoid. If you're afraid of being wrong, you will be wrong. If you're afraid of losing money, you will lose it. Not because the market is against you, but because your fear is quietly shaping every decision you make, every piece of information you choose to see, and every piece you choose to ignore. Now, let's talk about greed. Most people think greed and fear are opposites. They're not. Greed is fear. It's the fear that there won't be enough. It's the belief that opportunity is scarce, that if you don't grab it right now, it will be gone forever. And that, I've got to get mine energy, it causes traders to act in ways that have nothing to do with what the market is actually offering in that moment. Greed doesn't make you bold. It makes you reckless. There are 4 fears that drive almost every trading mistake ever made. Fear of being wrong, fear of losing money, fear of missing out, and fear of leaving money on the table. 4 fears. Every error you've ever made in a trade can be traced back to at least one of them. Let's walk through what fear of being wrong actually does to you. You see a setup. The pattern is there. You've seen it before. But instead of objectively assessing the trade, instead of simply defining your risk and giving the market room to prove itself, you go looking for reasons it's going to work. You need to convince yourself. You need certainty before you'll commit. And here's the problem with that. The market doesn't offer certainty. Ever. The buyers who drove price up at that level last time may simply not be there today. They might be out to lunch. That's just the reality of how markets work. All you ever truly need to do is decide. How much room am I giving this trade? At what point has the market told me clearly enough that this isn't working? That's it. That's the whole job. But fear of being wrong means you won't do that. Because honestly assessing the risk might convince you not to take the trade. And not taking it feels safer than facing the possibility you could be wrong. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Trading is not a right or wrong endeavor. It is a probability game. Random outcomes. Just like pulling the handle on a slot machine. When the slot machine doesn't pay out, you don't feel wrong. You don't feel stupid. You don't feel like a failure. Because you already understand it as a game of chance. The result doesn't connect to your identity. But for most traders, a losing trade does connect to their identity. And every loss carries the emotional weight of every time they've ever been wrong in their life. Every criticism, every mistake, every moment of embarrassment or self-doubt, all of it gets loaded onto that one trade. That is an enormous burden to carry into every position you take. Now here's where it gets dangerous. The mind has an automatic pain avoidance system. You don't have to think about pulling your hand off a hot burner. It happens instantly, automatically, without conscious decision. What most people don't realize is that the mind does the same thing with painful information. Say you're in a trade and the market is giving you 4 down ticks for every 1 up tick. The evidence is clear. The trade is not working. But because you're afraid of being wrong, your mind will focus on the upticks. It will place enormous weight on every small move in your favor. And it will make the down ticks effectively invisible. Not because you're stupid, not because you're irrational, but because your mind is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Protect you from pain. The tragedy is that in trading, this protection is the destruction. In everyday life, you can sometimes manage painful information by controlling your environment. You can steer conversations. You can avoid certain people or situations. You can get quite good at making sure the truth never confronts you directly. In the market, that is completely impossible. The market will show you what it's going to show you. You cannot negotiate with it. You cannot manage it. You cannot make it stop delivering information you don't want to receive. The only thing you can control is your own perception. And until a trader understands that, they will keep applying a survival strategy from everyday life into an environment where it simply does not work. And it will cost them every time. So when does the trader finally get out of that losing trade? When it turns back around. When the market proves them right. That's what the mind is waiting for. But now a second fear has arrived. Not just fear of being wrong, but fear of losing money. Two fears, compounding, distorting, pulling attention further from reality. This is the cycle, and it repeats until you understand it. Fear doesn't protect you in the market. It blinds you, and the very outcome you were working so hard to avoid becomes the one you reliably produce. The solution isn't to have no fear. The solution is to understand the mechanism so clearly that it loses its power over you. That is the beginning of trading with a clear mind.